Now today we are going to consider the next question of exercise 2.6, in which we are going to consider the multiplication of two decimal numbers. That means in the question number 1 to 4 we had discussed the multiplication of decimal number with the whole number, but here now we are going to consider the multiplication of both decimal numbers. That means both the numbers should be decimal number. Then how to perform the multiplication, how to consider that decimal point. It is very important in such a case. That means when we will look that example, suppose now question number 5 is like this. Fine. Now, if we read the example, which is first example, 2.5 multiplied by 0.3. Now, if we observe this multiplication, 2.5 into 0.3, and if you want to find the solution of this example, then we can find that the appearance of this example is very difficult. That means you can see or you can think that this calculation is going to be hard because numbers are like this 2.5 into 0.3. Now how to perform this multiplication, because we know that we don't know the tables of 2.5, we don't know the tables of 0.3, like this. So different questions are coming in mind while we are first looking at this example, but actually it is very simple to solve such a type of examples. So again, we are going to use the old method, that means which we are using in question number 1 and question number 4. That means up to question number 4, we are using that trick. Same only trick again we are going to perform in this type of example also. That means it doesn't matter which type of multiplication is given, whether the multiplication is like multiplication of two decimal numbers or multiplication of whole number and decimal number, any type of example should be there, then you have to use same method. That means same method can be carried. Now here, in order to solve this multiplication 2.5 into 0.3, actually here that 2.5 is there, by mistakenly 1.3 came. Okay, so here again the first method is that remove the decimal point. What we are going to do, we are going to remove the decimal point from that numbers, both the numbers. In the previous example we are removing the decimal point only from the decimal number because second number is whole number, but here both the numbers are decimal number, as both the numbers are decimal numbers. So therefore we are going to remove the decimal point from both the numbers. So therefore the first number is 2.5, the first number is 2.5. So if we remove that decimal point, then it will obtain like 25. That means we are getting now whole number, which is 25. Then from 0.3, from 0.3, again we are going to remove that decimal point as well as that 0. So after cancelling that 0, we are getting only 3. So here again 3 is a whole number. So by removing the decimal point and zeros which are present on the left hand side of the decimal point, then we are getting the whole numbers. Here whole numbers are obtained. So here 25 and 3 both are whole numbers. Both are whole numbers. Now if you know the 25 is table, then directly you can multiply by 25 to 3, or if you don't know the 25 is table, then you can multiply that 25 with 3. So like this, 3 5s are 15, remainder is 1, 3 2s are 6, 6 plus 1 7. So therefore its multiplication is 75. Or you can also take directly 25 3s are 75, 25 3s are 75. Like this also you can perform the multiplication. Now here actually we had removed that decimal point for a temporary purpose in order to perform the multiplication only. Now we had performed the multiplication. So here we are going to bring that decimal point back again. We have to bring those decimal point back. So therefore, first of all, we are going to bring that decimal point which is present between 2 and 5. Then for 3, Actually 0 is also present before the decimal point, so you can bring that 0 also. 0.3. Now our original numbers are of 10. 2.5 into 0.3. Now the next method is that, or next step is that, we have to observe how many digits are present after the decimal point combiningly. Now here little bit difference is there. In the first type of examples, we are taking the decimal number and whole number. So we are not taking the whole number while considering the number of digits after the decimal point. But here both numbers are decimal numbers. So therefore we have to consider both the numbers and the number of digits which are present after the decimal point. So here for 2.5, if we consider, only one digit is present after the decimal point. And in case of 0.3, again, one number is present after the decimal point. So just add these number of digits. So 1 plus 1, which is equals to 2. So by combining these two numbers, we can say that two digits are present after the decimal point. Two digits are present after the decimal point. So therefore, in the final answer also, two digits should be there after the decimal point. As in the example, two digits are present after the decimal point combiningly in both the numbers. Then we have to count those only numbers of digits after the decimal point in final answer. And therefore, we can put the decimal point before 75, because 7 and 5, those are two digits. Those are going to be two digits. And therefore, the final answer is 0.75 in, which is the multiplication of 2.5 and 0.3. So in this way, we can solve the examples in which both the decimal numbers are given. Now we will see another example. Now next one is again 0.1 into 51.7. 0.1 into 51.7. Now again both the numbers are decimal numbers. Again both numbers are decimal numbers. That means if we consider the category of those numbers, then both are the decimal numbers. Again same method we are going to follow in order to perform the calculation. So which method again we are going to follow? The decimal points are removed for a temporary purpose. Again we are going to remove those decimal point for a temporary purpose. So here along with decimal point we are going to ignore that 0. We are not removing that, we are ignoring that for a temporary purpose. So ignoring and removing, that is very different. So here again we are removing this, or we are ignoring this decimal point which is present between 51 and 7. So therefore we are getting the whole numbers like this: 1 into 517. Now I think there is no need to perform the multiplication, because we know that the first multiple is always that number itself. That means if we multiply by 1 to any number, then we are getting the same number. So here we are multiplying this 517 by 1. So therefore we are getting the same answer. Same answer means 517 is the multiplication of these two numbers. Now again put down the decimal numbers. Decimal points: 0.1 into 51.7. And here again we have to count how many digits are present after the decimal point combiningly. So here first digit, then here second digit. So total two digits are present after the decimal point. Total two digits are present after the decimal point. So therefore in the final answer also two digits should be present after the decimal point, and therefore final answer is coming like this: 5.17, which is the final product of 0.1 into 51.7. So in this way we can solve the, or we can perform the multiplication of any two decimal number. Now we are going to consider the next example, which is example number 3. 0.2 into 316.8. 316.8. Now here again two decimal numbers are given. Again, two decimal numbers are given. That means if we consider the nature of example or nature of numbers, then again two decimal numbers are provided. First one is 0.2 and second one is 316.8. That is the second number. Now again same way we have to solve this example. So again the first step is that ignore the decimal point. We are going to ignore these decimal points. That means for a temporary purpose we are going to remove those decimal points, and again afterwards we are going to bring those decimal points. Now after ignoring these decimal point, now the number is became like this: 2 into 3168. Both are now whole numbers. 2 into 3168. So that is the final numbers which we are obtained after the removing or ignoring those decimal point 3168, and we have to multiply by 2 to this number. So now we are going to perform the multiplication. So we are going to start with 8. 2 8s are 16. 2 8s are 16. So remainder is 1. Then 2 6s are 12. 12 plus 1, 13. So again remainder is 1. Then 2 1s are 2. 2 plus 1, 3. And 2 3s are 6. So therefore we are getting the final product as 6336, which is the final product. 6336, which is the final product of 2 into 3168. Now we had obtained the multiplication. Now simply we have to put that decimal point back again. That means we have to bring those decimal points back here. So first we are going to bring that decimal point in 0.2, then 316.8. So that also we had bring back. Now here again we have to count how many digits are present after the decimal point. So here only one digit is there, and in the second number also one digit is there. So in first number one digit, in second number one digit. So 1 plus 1, 2 digits are there. So therefore in the final answer also 2 digits should be there, 36. So therefore we are going to bring that decimal point before 36, and therefore the product is going to be 63.36, which is the final answer for the product 0.2 into 316.8. So in this way we can consider the solution. In this way we can consider the solution for the example number 3. Now we will see the fourth example, 1.3 into 3.1. Again it is simple type of example now. 1.3 into 3.1. Now again the same steps we are going to follow in order to solve such a type of example. 1.3 into 3.1, that is our example. Now again the first step is that we are going to ignore, or we are going to remove these decimal points from 1.3 and 3.1 for a temporary purpose in order to perform the multiplication, and afterwards again we are going to bringing back them in our original numbers. Now here from 1.3, after removing this decimal point, we are getting the number 13, which is a whole number. 13 is a whole number. Then 3.1, after ignoring that decimal point, we are getting it as a 31. We are getting it as a 31. So therefore here we are going to take the product of two numbers again, 31 into 13. Now you can say that it is like this, 13 into 31. No matter if you change the position of numbers, still their product is going to be same. And why we are taking 13 afterwards? Because we know the 13 table instead of 31. we can take the 13, because 13's table is very easy as compared to the 31. So therefore we are taking the 13 as a multiplier. So here we have to count the 13's table now. 13 ones are 13. So here remainder is going to be 1. Then 13 twos are 26. 13 threes are 39. 13 threes are 39. Plus this 1, that means 40. So therefore 403, which is the product of 13 into 31, which is the product of 13 into 31, 403, which is the product. Now here we have to consider, now here we have to consider the decimal points. That means we have to bring those decimal points back again, because we are considering the multiplication of two decimal numbers. We had removed those decimal points for a very temporary purpose. Now that our purpose is fulfilled or satisfied, so therefore we have to bring those decimal points back here. After or in case of first decimal number, it is like this 1.3, and in the second decimal number it is like this 3.1. Now we have to count the decimal numbers or decimal digits which are present after the decimal point. So here in the first number only one digit is there, and in the second number again one digit is there. So 1 plus 1, 2. So therefore in the final answer after decimal point 2 digits should be there. So therefore we have to keep that decimal point before 03 and after 4. So therefore their product is 4.03, which is the final answer for the sub question number 4, 1.3 into 3.1. So in this way we can solve the examples in which we are going to consider the decimal numbers. Now here the next example is like this: 0.5 into 0.05, 0.5 into 0.05. Now if we see this number, now it is looking very difficult to calculate because too many decimal numbers are there, like 0.5, then here 0.05 is there. Now how to solve it? So again same method we are going to perform in order to solve this example. Again same method we are going to follow to solve this type of example. Now again in the solution, that means in order to find out 0.5 into 0.05, again we are going to remove the decimal point, or we are going to ignore that decimal point for a temporary purpose. We are not removing that decimal point permanently. We are removing or we are ignoring that decimal point for a temporary purpose. So here after ignoring this decimal point which is present in 0.5, so we have to ignore that 0 also. So therefore by ignoring 0 and that decimal point, only 5 is remained. So we have to ignore this 0. Then in the second number also we are going to ignore that decimal point as well as 0 which is present before the decimal point. Now we got the number like this 0.5. So I think it is not necessary to denote that 0. So you can also indicate it only 5. Whether you can write 0.5 or 5, same meaning is there. That means that value is not going to change. 0.5 or 5, that number is going to be 5 only. So therefore we are getting the multiplication like 5 into 5. Now you know the 5's table. 5 5's are 25. 5 5's are 25. So therefore the final product is 25 of these two whole numbers. Which two whole numbers we had taken? We had taken 5 and 5. Their product is 25. But actually we have to take product of 0.5 and 0.05. So here we have to bring those decimal point back again, and then only we are going to get the final answer. So therefore, by bringing that decimal point, we are getting the original number 0.5 into 0.05. 0.5 into 0.05, which is the next step. That means we have brought back that decimal points. Now again, the next step is that we have to count how many decimal numbers are present after the decimal point. So don't see that which numbers are there. 0 to 9, any number can be possible. I told you that 0 to 9, any number can be possible. So don't see the which number is present, only count how many digits are present after the decimal point. So here in the first number, only one digit is there. So that will be 1. So here only one digit is present. Then we have to add the number of digits which are present in the second number. So here in the second number, 1, 2. So total 2 digits are present in the second number. In the second number, 2 digits are present. So therefore 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2, that is going to be 3. And therefore in the final product, 3 digits should be present after the decimal point, and therefore here we can write it like 0.025. Now you can count how many digits are present here. 0 is the first digit, 2 is the second digit, and 5 is the third digit. And if there are numbers are not present, then you can introduce zeros before those numbers. Here like before 25, one digit is not present, so that digit is taken as a 0, and after or before that 0 we have kept that decimal point. So we got the 3 number of digits after the decimal point. So therefore the product of 0.5 and 0.05 is 0.025, which is the final product. Now in the same way we are going to consider the example number 6. Now here higher order numbers are there. 11.2 into 0.15. 11.2 into 0.15. Now again the similar steps we are going to follow. We are going to ignore that decimal point for a temporary purpose. After ignoring those decimal points, we are getting the product like this: 112 into 15. 112 into 15. So here we are going to perform the multiplication of 112 into 15. Now here you should know the 15's table, so it will be easier to perform the calculation. So 15 to the 30, 15 to the 30, so remainder is 3. Then 15 ones are 15, 15 ones are 15, 15 plus 3, 18, so again 1 is the remainder. And then 15 ones are 15, 15 plus 1, which is 16. So therefore 1680 is the final product of 112 into 15. Now here that product is obtained. So next step is that bring those decimal point which we had ignored for a temporary purpose, and after bringing those decimal point, count how many digits are present after the decimal point in both the numbers. So in first number only one digit is there, and in second number 2 digits are there. So therefore 1 plus 2, which is equals to 3, and therefore in the final answer 3 digits should be present after the decimal point, and therefore we are going to put down decimal point between 1 and 6, and therefore we are getting the answer as 1.680, which is the required product of 11.2 and 0.50. So this is the example number 6. Okay.